Hello, it is Leo's Fi here, and I'm coming back here with a video on Star Wars. Some Star Wars news about J.J. Abrams, about the planning of the sequels, and we're just going to get straight into the video. Let's check it out.
One of the things I liked about the Star Wars franchise that you guys did was that the creative handoff between you and Rian Johnson, which I felt, it was letting filmmakers take their own stories and take the story where they wanted to go, and I felt that played out in a really interesting way. But I know not everyone feels that way, and I'm curious for you, as the person who helped get that foundation off the ground and also concluded it, do you feel like that trilogy would have benefited from planning out a very strict 3-movie story from the very beginning? Or do you enjoy that kind of creative freedom to kind of take the characters different ways and kind of see how it goes?
I've been involved in a number of projects that have been, in most cases, series that have ideas that begin the thing where you feel like you know where it's going to go, and then sometimes it's an actor who comes in. Other times it's a relationship that, as it's written, doesn't quite work, and things that you think are going to just, be so well received, just crash and burn, and other things that you think like, oh, that's a little small moment, that's a one episode character, suddenly become a hugely important part of the story. And I feel like
I'll pause it there. I'll pause it maybe a couple of times, and you can just tell so how uncomfortable he is talking about Star Wars. You can see how political, coy he is with the words, like he's still working for Disney, and he's still going to kind of protect Disney itself from bad publicity. But really, it just seems he seems so uncomfortable, and that he just doesn't even want to talk about it anymore. And the fact that he's saying, sometimes he's saying that it's a character and an actor changing, basically making them change the story, thinking, oh, this character's a throwaway character, and now they've become a big part of the story, now they need to change the story, which is completely wrong. Just stick to your story. Oh, of course actors can be problems at times, but if you just know the story beforehand, they can't really complain. They've signed up for the script. They should have read the script at least, and they should just stick to it. And everyone during that film should stick to it, no matter what it is. Not even just films, whatever it is. Just stick to the story you've got planned out. Just because fans think a certain character is a very good character in one episode doesn't mean you have to change the next 2 films to fit that one thought that most fans had. Just look at the originals with Boba Fett. Boba Fett had such a small part in the movies, and everybody loved him. They didn't go back and change for Boba Fett to be in the next film the full story just because people liked it. They already had a story planned out, and they told that story, and guess what, years later they revisited Boba Fett and still fit him into the story, but just went back a bit so they could actually tell more about Boba Fett. And they actually made it even further ahead in the story. They just make it fit into the story. It's not let's chop up, we've got this story, we need to chop this up now. Go to change it just because the fans like this one. Just stick to your story. Just stick to it. Right, we're going to resume the video and see what else he says.
what I've learned as a lesson a few times now, and it's something that especially in this pandemic year, working with writers, the lesson is that you have to plan things the best you can, and you always need to be able to respond to the unexpected, and the unexpected can come in all sorts of forms. And I do think that there's nothing more important than knowing where you're going. And there are projects that I've worked on where we had some ideas, but we hadn't worked through them enough. We had sometimes we had some ideas, but then we weren't allowed to do them the way we wanted to. We had I mean, I've had all sorts of
Right, so he's basically saying there was things that he had planned that didn't actually make it into the movie, and things that he thought he had planned and they didn't even work them out themselves. That it wouldn't work beforehand. Like, and the thing about him saying, "I've realised you need a plan," that's something in life you should have realised ages ago. Like, this is something you learn growing up. You need to have a plan. You can't just half-ass things in life. Not just fucking movies or anything like that. You need to be able to have a plan, to even think it through. Don't just do something just off a quick reaction or just a quick thought. You need to think it through. This is part of a larger story, these films. You've got to think the things through. I'm sure that's part of writing. You have so many drafts first, so you can figure out all these wee faults and things that won't work. And that's what the first drafts and second drafts, and then you get to your final story that you're happy with and you stick to it. And fans might not like the first couple of pages of a book, but until the end, they might actually learn to enjoy the full journey of the story. You can't just change it just because one part people don't like and they've not even seen the full story yet. The first film that he done is the Force Awakens. People might not like parts of it, but there's 2 other films of that continuation of that story to come. You don't just sit and change the next 2 parts that have already been thought out, which they didn't actually have a plan for, but let's say if they did. You don't change the next 2 films because, one part of the story people didn't like. You've seen that full story. You know how it ends up. You know how it continues. The fans don't. They're waiting. So they're speculating and wondering. Just do your story. Stick to it. Oh, of course you need a plan. You should have a plan for most things. You can't just give 50%. You need to give 100. You've got to commit. That for me, that just sounds silly and stupid, but we'll get back into the video, see what else has been said, and we'll just resume it now.
situations where, you plan things in a certain way, and you suddenly find yourself doing something that's 180 degrees different, and then sometimes it works really well, and you feel like, wow, that really came together. And other times you think, oh my God, I can't believe this is where we are. And sometimes when it's not working out, it's because it's what you planned. And other times...
Right, sorry again, it's quite near the end of the video, but the fact that these complications that he's explained is why you have the start of story making. For me personally, this is what you have your first drafts to get all those like ideas that won't work out the way. I know at times when it's filming, when it's getting produced and stuff, like some things they aren't able to do, but there's usually small things, no full massive story parts. They should have already kind of thought about that, what they're going to be able to work with and stuff, and communicate with all the other different departments of films to actually kind of suspect what they're able to do and not do, then kind of write through that, right? Be able to basically continue that story without having all these bumps. Certainly when you get to your final draft, when it comes to the film, to making the film, all those bumps should have been worked out right at the start. They should have been the starting points. And the fact that he says that he's got stuff that he's had to take out as well, just makes you wonder, what is that? It just seems like maybe Kathleen Kennedy's been telling them what to keep in, what to not do, what to maybe put something in of their own idea. I don't know. But it's fascinating to see how much of a mess these films have became. Whether you love them or hate them, that's completely up to you. For me, I didn't really like them. I enjoyed them. They're good to watch, but the story of them isn't, in my opinion. 7 was a complete copy of A New Hope. Last Jedi was fun to watch, I would say, but after you're kind of like, what does half this film mean? And the Rise of Skywalker was called Rise of Skywalker. It was part of the Skywalker saga, and basically it was only Luke. Anakin should have been there because he was the chosen one and the Emperor's still alive. So that doesn't really make any sense. It just felt like it was a back. They went one way with Last Jedi, then they went 3 different ways for 3 films that are exactly the same, like, continuation of a story. It's not spin-offs or anything like that. It's the same continuation of the story. It was just a mess. All 3 films themselves are probably very good if you just watch them like that. But altogether, I'm personally not a fan. But if you enjoy them, that's fine. I know people who do, and I know people who don't. And it's completely fine either way. Just because we have a different opinion, don't have to hate each other. That's just terrible. The fact that you hate each other because of a different film opinion. This is a film. Just enjoy what you enjoy, dislike what you dislike. You don't have to be horrible to each other or anything like that. Just accept it. Just accept one opinion's that theirs and accept your own opinion. Just because you enjoy the movie doesn't mean others have to. Just let yourself enjoy it. Let yourself dislike it. You don't have to watch it if you dislike it. You don't have to not watch it if you like it. It's completely fine. It's part of the Star Wars canon now. You can't do anything about that. So it's really time to move on from these films and just be excited for what comes next. And sorry I've rambled on a bit there. Just it gets a little bit annoying how much fans basically tear each other when everyone just wants Star Wars. And hopefully there'll come a point in the future when we can all just enjoy Star Wars and not need everyone to agree on the same thing. We can dislike some parts of the movies and dislike one movie in the series of the films. We don't have to always agree. Just be respectful and accept it. And we'll just carry on with this wee video.
And when it's not working out, it's because it didn't. It's like you never really know. But having a plan, I have learned in some cases the hard way, is the most critical thing, because otherwise, you don't know what you're setting up. You don't know what you're what to emphasize, because if you don't know the inevitable of the story, you're just as good as your last sequence or effect or joke or whatever, but you want to be leading to something inevitable.
Right, so that ending part, you should always have a plan. That's it. And we'll go quickly through this article here. Pardon me. J.J. Abrams was never supposed to direct more than one film in the Star Wars franchise. It just shows you how messed up that already is, considering he directed the last one. It must have been that Last Jedi got so much hate, or the hate of it was so loud that they've been like, oh no. The 7th one was actually quite well received by most, or everyone thought it was okay at least, and they're trying to just backtrack everything. It just seems very messed up. When he was first approached about tackling episode 9, he turned it down. It took some convincing on the new Lucasfilm head Kathleen Kennedy's part to get Abrams to agree to sign on, and in doing so, Abrams said at the time he was excited about the idea of creating a foundation from the ground up, from which other stories might grow. The Force Awakens had an unbelievable task of introducing brand new characters that fans would want to follow, while also servicing fans' desires to see old favourites back on the screen. Abrams, co-writing script with Lawrence Kasdan and Michael Arndt, I think I'm pronouncing that right, wrote the initial drafts, pulled it off, not only providing a satisfying conclusion to Han Solo's arc, and also making the world fall in love with Rey, Finn, Poe, and BB-8, etc. Right, so, I mean, I think that's 7. I don't know, man. It's 7 or 9. That's all I know. People can correct me. I'll probably get hate for that. I think it's... I don't know. And it's just really terrible how messed up all this has become. It's crazy to think how messed up the developing of the Star Wars films, the latest ones anyway, were. If you enjoy them, that is fine. It's completely fine. This is just my opinion. I'm just one person. It's okay. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy them. It's totally okay. I know people who enjoy them, and we don't have to hate each other for different opinions. And that'll be it from me, Leo's Fire. I hope you enjoy the content. Just give me any feedback if it's bad or if it's good. I don't mind. I'm always looking forward to improving, and hopefully we'll have some Star Wars news and Star Wars movies and series and shows and more to look forward to. Thanks.